Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Jason L. Jones with UATV. Last week, the Conservative Party and Prime Minister Boris Johnson both won the parliamentary elections in the UK, campaigning to get Brexit done. Conservatives have won their biggest majority in 30 years. By contrast, the opposition party, Labour Party, faced its worst defeat since 1935. So, will Brexit finally get things done? If yes, when? To talk more about this, in our studio we have Iliya Kusa, expert on international politics in the Middle East, as well as the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello, Iliya. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, as I just briefly mentioned, the Brexit, the election, the Conservative Party won the most, way more than expected, by 357 votes, even winning over some of the Labour Party votes. So what type of shift do you think, do you expect to happen in the UK after this win?
Well, several ones. I mean, first of all, we are talking about a fundamental shift to the right of the UK politics, because for the next 5 years we will have a British government dominated by mainly right-wing forces. These are the Conservatives under the leadership of Boris Johnson, and also we should not forget about Nigel Farage of Brexit Party, who though didn't make his way to the Parliament, but we should remember that it was because of his support for Johnson and because of their agreement that Farage will not, bring his candidates in the constituencies where Conservatives were elected, that Boris Johnson won. That's why we will have this Conservative Party dominating the government and the Parliament, and the right-wing, the far-right politicians of Brexit Party standing behind them, because of this agreement, and I think they will not, they will not forget it. So this will be a fundamental shift of the UK politics to the right, and also I think we should expect another 5 years of, strict neoliberal economic politics in the UK under Boris Johnson. And of course, I think it's because of his, because he won. I think on 31st January next year, they will finally get Brexit done.
Okay. We have actually a soundbite from with Boris Johnson giving his response to the election. Let's look at this real quick.
With this mandate and this majority, we will at last be able to do what? Get Brexit done! You've been paying attention. You, the people of this country, voted to be carbon neutral in this election. You voted to be carbon neutral by 2050, and we'll do it. You also voted to be Corbyn neutral by Christmas, by the way, and we'll do that too.
So, speaking of Corbyn, some say that the big reason why the Conservatives they won so many, because they had a lot of people from the Labour Party who shifted over to the Conservative vote because they lost trust in Corbyn. Partially because of the fact that they saw that they weren't being represented in their regions as much. They're kind of like being lost in the shadow of London. And what are your thoughts towards this and Corbyn?
I don't think there is a problem in Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, yes, there was. I think, let's put it this way. I don't think the high, the somewhat toxic image of Jeremy Corbyn because of these anti-Semitism discussions is not the main factor that had this impact on Labour voters. The problem was that the Labour constituency was divided between two biggest social and economic groups. The first one is these are the industrial areas in northern England, which actually shifted their preferences from Labour to Conservatives. That's why Labour, the Labour Party, their traditional constituencies in the north collapsed, because part of the Labour voters, they shifted to either Brexit Party, like 7-8% of them, and 2-3% to the Conservative Party. And the second social group and economic group of Labour constituency is in the southern England. These are the urban areas. So their voters were divided by the Brexit issue. The constituencies in the northern England, though they voted for Labour like for 40, 50 years, but they supported Brexit. and the majority of Northern English districts, they voted for Brexit in 2016. On the other hand, the Southern England, I mean the Labour voters in Southern England, they supported the Labour Party, but they were against Brexit. So Corbyn had this dilemma on how to go on the elections and how to satisfy all his voters. It was impossible. That's why they made this focus, they shifted the focus not from Brexit itself, unlike Boris Johnson, whose campaign was like limited to one phrase, get Brexit done, and that's all. The Labours, they shifted their focus from Brexit to the issues, post-Brexit issues, like what will we do after the Brexit? Let's talk about this. But as we saw, people didn't get the point. You know, they were very tired. They thought that this kind of problems, this kind of issues, like what we will do after Brexit, this is like we will take another 2-3 years of negotiations with the EU. Let's get Brexit done.
Got it.
That's why their traditional constituencies collapsed in Northern England, and this was the crucial factor of Labour defeat actually in these elections.
Okay, and there's also a belief that the Conservative Party won people from Labour as well because Labour made some promises about, you know, Wisconsin making promises about giving more money for public spending and police and whatnot, and you know the Conservatives was like, well, we can do it for you. Do you think they will be able to fulfill those expectations, or will it just be another letdown?
No, they will not. They will not, because the main criticism from Conservative Party toward the Labour was that actually they were promising too much. Like they are populists, you know, all this spending is too much for the UK economy, though the Conservatives did the same thing during the last 10 years. But still, I mean, it is also not very important, because the main problem remained the same, that the Labour voters were divided. They didn't know how to address all the people, because from one hand you have this you know, industrial proletariat areas which are against which are for Brexit because they're against migration, all these social issues that Conservatives and Nigel Farage and Brexit Party and far right were, you know, cultivating all this time. And you have the southern, you know, southern England with all these urban liberal cities, big cities, which Labour's very were afraid of losing. That's why they didn't solve this dilemma, so they didn't know how to address all the people to satisfy everybody, and so that was the main. So all these discussions about spending, what we will pay for the NHS or what will go for to the factories and plants, they were not efficient, because people were thinking about Brexit, how to get Brexit done. We're very tired of Brexit. Yeah. It's like 3 years, we need to get it done. Maybe let's make Johnson do this. Maybe it's better. I mean, that's how they thought, and that's why actually Conservatives and Brexit Party were quite popular in Northern England.
Okay, so you do believe that he'll be able to get it done by January?
Well, he believes that, and that was his main motto. But yes, I think that they will do everything they can. Well, now they have all the instruments. They have their parliament. They have control over both parliament and the government. I think they will get it done. I mean, they will vote. They will make the parliament vote for this. I mean, Theresa May-Johnson deal. I mean, it's an old deal that was prepared by Theresa May, but maybe moderated by Boris Johnson. They would make the parliament vote for this deal before Christmas. And I think on 31st January, Britain will exit the European Union, and then we will have this transition period start until the end of 2020. And that will be the crucial moment, because because Boris Johnson promised to Brexit Party and Nigel Farage, who supported him during the elections, that he will not prolong the transition period. That means that up until the end of 2020, Britain will need to exit. And it doesn't matter if they will have all the issues with trade, economy, you know, with tariffs, with the European Union done or not. They will have to exit, and this is the crucial issue to watch in 2020. Will the Conservatives, you know, live up to their promises to to Nigel Farage and his supporters or not?
And with this, there's a lot to take in consideration with Ireland and Scotland. Do you have any thoughts towards that?
Yes, I think these elections polarized and relations between the center and the regions, and I think it will have far-reaching consequences in the next 2-3 years, because besides the triumph of Conservative Party, Scottish nationalists gained seats. They have like 48 seats, if I'm not mistaken. Practically all the districts in Scotland were taken by Scottish National Party, and that means that raises the possibility of a second independence referendum for Scotland in the next 2-3 years. This is one issue, and the other one is about Northern Ireland. Also, Irish nationalists, I mean, let's not call them all nationalists, I mean, Irish parties who are against Brexit, this means the Sinn Féin Alliance and Social Labour Party, altogether they gained more seats than the Democratic Unionist Party, so the Protestants who are supporters of Johnson and of Brexit. And that's, I think, for the first time since 1999. And that means that Northern Ireland will also, I mean, this will also raise tensions between London and Northern Ireland. So we will have, I think Britain will have huge problems with these two regions in the next 2-3 years, because especially, you know, with especially on 31st of January, when Britain will have to leave EU.
Okay. Well, thank you, Iliya, for so much of your insights. Wish we could go into it more, but we got to get back to it. That was Iliya Kusa, expert on international politics and the Middle East at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the rest.